What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 73 of The Locker Room, brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers you precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, so make your testes their besties and get 20% off with free shipping with our code LOCKA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use our code LOCKA. I promise you, your balls will thank you. And speaking of balls, we do have a brand new set on the intro tonight. Hopefully joining the Locker Room family relatively soon. We're kind of easing him into the process a little bit, but someone you guys should all be familiar with, our dear friend with the cleanest redheaded balls out there. Well, I guess they wouldn't be redheaded. They're clean, but you know what I'm saying? I want to introduce Jake Asman, who is going to be a part of the Locker Room family. We're going to try to, bring him onto every show, every intro, however we can ease him into this whole thing. But Jake, the floor is yours.
Wow, what an introduction. Couldn't have scripted it any better. Appreciate it, Laz, Cap, Max. Great to be with you guys again. I listen to the show every week, so it's kind of surreal to be the introduction there, but it's going to be fun, man. Let's chop it up.
And if anyone wants to shit talk us, please direct yourself to Asman now. It's on him if, we say something stupid. So
it's nice. We got a redhead in the group now.
The Red Rocket.
And a Yankee fan to go after us diehard Met fans, right, Maxie?
Yeah. Crap. Yeah, apparently, according to you, you're a diehard Met fan. You didn't know who Kevin PR was.
Nope, not a clue.
What do they say about redheads?
I don't know.
They say a lot of things.
Tell me. No, seriously.
Oh, are you actually asking him?
No, I'm serious. I see all these TikToks and they're all these redheads and they're like what the people used to think about me, and then they're it's like transformation.
Well, we've come a long way. There was a day in middle school when I was in 8th grade. Johnny, you might remember this at good old Southwoods Middle School.
Nope, we didn't go there.
Oh, that's right. I forgot there were 2 middle schools.
We went to the other one.
Well, take 2. You might remember this when it went viral when we were in middle school. The Kick a Ginger Day, that was a tough one growing up. That started on Facebook back when that was still a thing for our age demographic. And I'll never forget, being a red-haired man myself, I came into homeroom early, and the teacher, Mr. Connolly, James Connolly, shout out to him, huge Islander fan. I'm sure he's listening right now, and he's smiling through his teeth. He was like, "Why are you in homeroom so early?" And I'm like, "Well, it's Kick a Ginger Day. I'm in here for cover." He's like, "Kick a what?" And I'll never forget explaining to him what the heck Kick a Ginger Day was. And shortly after that, he had my back. He went right down to the principal's office, and I kid you not, within 10 minutes, there was an announcement that this was over. It was done, and Kick a Ginger Day ended, and there were 4 or 5 people that ended up getting suspended for the day, got sent home because they were kicking me and a bunch of my fellow redheads in Southwoods Middle School. Unbelievable.
I'm going to be honest. I don't recall that day because it probably wasn't as traumatic for me, but I'm sorry.
I thought Jake was being sarcastic for the first 10 seconds of the story, and then it got pretty real.
It was a tough day, but you bounce back, you take it one day at a time, you trust the process, and years later, still have red hair, and I survived Kick a Ginger Day, so it can only go up from here.
Speaking of surviving, we're hoping our beloved Knicks can survive the first round. Maxie, you made an appearance at the Garden the other night. You gotta tell us about it, dude. It looks so sick, and everyone's some guy chirped us for the story with Sam Morril, Max. He replied to the DM. He's like, "You bitch ass pussies," or something like that. Bitch, yeah.
No, man.
Yeah.
So no, but it was sick. I think the best way of describing it was the first 15 possessions for the Knicks. Everyone in there were just caged animals looking for a reason just to freaking go nuts. Just the energy itself. I was texting a few last time. I might have texted you this. I was like, it's 6 versus 5 right now.
Yeah.
The crowd was insane. And then obviously, what happened at the end. But dude, it was in my opinion, I think it's ridiculous that Trae Young I didn't even think there were fouls, but whatever.
He's amazing at it, at drawing the foul. But sorry,
if I may ask, obviously the Rangers aren't in the playoffs this year at the Garden, but a Knicks Game 7 compared to a Rangers Game 7 playoffs at the Garden, is the fan base different, or are they just all crazy New Yorkers? Is it from a basketball, hocky, you know what I mean?
None of us have experienced a Knicks Game 7. I've experienced a Rangers one.
Hypothetically, what would you think?
I think it's
the
probably
Knick crowd would
same.
be louder.
Yeah.
I would say you got to understand the dynamic of the landscape, right? Like other cities have, like Boston, right? You got the Celtics, you got the Bruins, you got the Patriots, you got the Red Sox. There's one team. Chicago, you have the Bears, you have the Black Sox. Major, huge city, all in for the one team. As popular as the Rangers are, and they're clearly the most popular hockey team in New York, it's just different with the Knicks because, yeah, the Nets exist. There's 7 fans. So, and one of them is the guest in the episode coming up, and Evan Roberts. So, they not to dig the Nets, but I kind of just did. The point is the Knicks are the focus. When the Knicks are good, they're the storyline. So the fact that it was 8 years without a playoff game and you had, all this built up hype because of COVID and the 15,000 fans they were now going to allow in the building, all that kind of came together to create what was, clearly the best atmosphere we've seen in the playoffs so far. And if you thought that was loud, wait till, when this drops, of course, on Wednesday, wait till tonight when the Knicks fans give it to Trae Young for an entire game.
Well, I say that I've said that a lot, but just how, with Jet versus Giant fans, Ranger versus Islander fans, and then when it comes to the Knicks versus the Nets, unless you were from Jersey, or I don't want to call Evan Roberts weird, unless you're a weirdo, you're a Knicks fan.
I also think it's the sport too, though. Think about it also. Basketball, they're scoring 100 points a game. Every basket's an exciting thing happening in the game. Hockey, you score maybe 3 or 4 goals a night, and that's when fans can really kind of, elevate and show their, electricity, whatever word you want to call it. Whereas the NBA, like Obi Toppin could dunk once every 5 minutes, or RJ Barrett could take it to the cup and dunk, once every 3 minutes, whatever you want to call it. But hockey, like when you do score a goal, I mean, that minute of celebration is definitely just as electric as, a big dunk would be in the NBA playoff game. But speaking of the Knicks fans, I do have to give a major shout out to friend of the podcast, Alec Ginsberg. I don't know if you guys saw this trending on Twitter, but the Magic City wings, where Lou Williams infamously went to get wings accordingly in the bubble and didn't want to go to a strip club, whatever the story was. But Alec made like his own customized t-shirt that said Magic City wings suck. And out of all people that were sitting in the Garden, out of all 15,000 people that he could have sat behind that night, he sat directly behind Lou Williams' mom, which is like the funniest thing of all time. And Magic City got like a hold of this. Like they saw Alec's social media posts, his Twitter posts, and they literally posted on Instagram the entire story about like Alec, how he made the shirt, a huge Knicks fan, and how, he wanted to chirp Lou Williams, and every time Lou Williams scored, his mom would turn around and be like, must be the wings or whatever, like something like that. So just great banter back and forth. And I think they're actually sending Alec wings in the mail for him to like try himself. So really cool story of Alec at the Knick game. Fucking hilarious, honestly.
Oh,
and,
I'm getting free wings for life if I'm Alec. Like hands down, like I'm promoting the shit out of that.
Well, the Heat the Heat aren't going to play the Hawks probably because the Heat don't look very good. But I was gonna say, if the Heat make the next round and end up playing Miami somehow, Cap, you got to make your own T-shirt.
Yeah, what's mine gonna say? Lock us for Cappy? Like
I don't know. No, Magic City wings suck again. I don't know.
No, I know.
Do something like that. And then I gotta tell one more. Asman, I know our good buddy from home, Chase. Chase Shaloza, of course, the man, the myth, the legend. Bought like $400 tickets. 2 hours before the game. Got his vaccination like 2 days prior to game 1. Goes up to the door of Madison Square Garden, like shows his ticket, and they're like, no, you need to be vaccinated like 2 weeks in advance. Has to go home, watch the game from his couch by himself.
Oh my God.
Fucking hilarious, dude.
Was he able to resell the tickets? Excuse me. Was he able to resell the tickets?
Very bad voice crack. But luckily enough for him, another friend of ours, Doug Enga, ended up going with them just in case this happened because they kind of knew, it was kind of a risky thing. But dude, can you imagine like waiting 8 years to go to a Knicks playoff game? Probably more than 8, because I don't think he went when the Knicks made the playoffs in 2013. Waiting your whole life to go to a Knicks playoffs game, you show up to the door and they're like, not sorry.
It's the worst case of blue balls
Yeah.
you could possibly have involving a sports team.
It's exactly what I said. That sucks.
Well, I want to bring this up. Do you think on Sunday was the day sports returned? I saw that a lot on Twitter, but with the PGA and with MSG absolutely in a frenzy and rocking, did you guys get the feel that sports is finally back?
I mean, I feel like sports have been back since.
Will you play them?
I mean, like with fans and everything, like fully back. Like this is
No, I
next
100%
level.
understand what you're saying, Max. Speaking of, golf. I'm surprised we even brought this up yet. Phil Mickelson, are you kidding me? But regardless of that, I saw a picture of like, I think it was, they were on like the 18th, or he was walking up to the 18th. There was a picture of the amount of fans that were standing behind Phil Mickelson. I was like, holy shit. It just like, kind of like just it's like, yeah, Max, I did get that feeling like, yeah, sports are back. Like kind of like people were following Tiger around, but Phil is obviously just as much of an icon as Tiger. Obviously not as big, but so good to see him win. I'm sure Max had an absolute rocket watching that, but it was great.
I was going to argue the Super Bowl might have been, but the Super Bowl still wasn't like what it
No,
should be.
I thought the
you know?
Super Bowl felt weird. I don't know about
I
you
liked
guys.
it. I mean, because I bet the Bucks, so like I had more fun. But I mean, like, nah, seeing and hearing the roar of the Garden made it feel like something's normal again.
It
No.
depends how you look at it, right? If you're looking at it from the New York lens, then absolutely. But
Yeah.
what's been so weird about this whole process is, so I'm here in Texas and Houston. We've been open for months. I mean, everything has been normal for a long time already. Capacity limits still apply in some spots, but it just depends. What Sunday felt like being different than other sports days is that it happened during a non-football calendar day, right? I mean, like if you had football and this happened in October where you had the beginnings of the hockey and the basketball season with baseball in the playoffs, and then you had regular season NFL games, it'd be like the ultimate Sunday. That to me, one, it will feel like we're all the way back when all those sports are in full swing and there's packed stadiums and arenas all around. But as far as like pandemic sports, I think you're onto something, Max. You had a lot of people not focusing on COVID, but just talking about, all these sports events happening at the same time.
I will argue one more game though, Maxie. I think game 1 of the Panthers Lightning series was unbelievable. And that's like, obviously, we're the hockey, whatever. I love hockey.
Yeah.
That's my thing. So you probably wouldn't resonate with that. But that, Cappy, you can attest, like that game 1 of that series was fucking electric.
Yeah, and my girlfriend Court, who actually was able to go to game 1, and then she was at the most recent win. Shout out to Spencer Knight for that performance that he put on last night. I think he's like part of a group of goaltenders who are 20 years old and younger who have won their first playoff career start, which is pretty remarkable. But yeah, that game's pretty crazy. I also have to shit on you for a little bit, Johnny, from Court, because you were like on the Panthers bandwagon. So
I still am.
You are, because they're still alive. But I feel like right when they lose, you're gonna be like, I shouldn't have bet them game 1. I shouldn't have bet them game 2.
Well, I did bet Tampa game 5 and they won, and I did bet them. I bet Tampa game 5 and Tampa won, and I bet Florida game 6 and they won.
Yeah.
But I'm still rooting for Florida. I love.
No,
I want
100%. But that series is electric. I'm kind of upset that it happened in the first round. That's for sure. But Jake, I want to go back to, like, obviously you're in Houston. I'm in Allen right now. Like everything that's open right now, and then like sports being back. I feel like the world is back. I felt like that a couple days ago, because obviously we haven't been able to wear masks, like walk into stores, being in Texas for the last what is it, month now or so, Jake?
Yeah,
Or
I would
couple
say
months now.
Yeah, I mean the mask the mask mandate kind of dropped a while ago, but then like slowly but surely you're seeing like more like stores and brands kind of not require it anymore.
Exactly. So so about 2 months ago, it started with the no mask mandate, and I was like, okay, it's coming. And then a couple days ago, I walk into the one place that was still making me wear a mask, and I didn't have to wear one, and I was like, we're back, baby. And that is Chipotle.
Yeah,
Chipotle? No way.
I walked into Chipotle finally. I didn't have a mask. I'm like, shit, they're gonna say something like always. I walk in, I saw like 3 people at the counter. I'm like, there's no way it's happening. It's happening. So I'm super thrilled.
I got chirped at today for wearing a mask.
Did you?
I honestly forgot it's on, because in my building you have to wear a mask when you enter and exit. I walked out, forgot I had it on, was like walking a few blocks, and this person walked by me. He's like, "Why are you wearing a mask?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's right.
Fuck
why am I wearing a mask?"
Yeah. how the turntables. I do want to go into NBA, NHL final predictions, just really quick. Like, no, like we don't need to elaborate. I feel like we're not.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised we haven't talked about it. That's why, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Cap, lead us off. What do you got for NHL? Let's do NHL first, then NBA.
NHL, sure. Let's stick in the wheelhouse, I guess, and then we'll go off to NBA. But I've been picking this team, and I'm gonna be a little biased because they already have advanced through round 1, but I've picked them to win the finals in my brackets the last 2 years, and that's the Winnipeg Jets. I'm sticking with them. I think that Connor Hellebuyck, and they were like playing like so throughout like the last 10 games of the season going into playoffs, but I feel like they're so hot right now. They swept the Oilers, who have Connor McDavid and obviously Leon Draisaitl, who are tremendous. But I think they're gonna go up against the Boston Bruins, who I think are another team who could possibly win. I think it's gonna be them too, and hopefully it's a Game 7 series win. But Winnipeg, I'm taking them. Who do you got, Johnny?
I got Boston and Vegas. I've said it a million times. Like it's Vegas' year. I think they're due. Like they've been so good since they came into the league, and Boston just got hot at the right time, which is what playoffs is all about. So I got Boston and Vegas. I got Vegas winning the cup in 6 games. Maxie, what does Deeper have this year?
That's what I'm trying to pull up.
Oh, wait. Before Max gives his bets, Max, I do want to say I talked to your boy Chase Prisky today, and he is on the taxi squad with the Panthers. So
Is
you
he?
never know if something happens right now. He's skating. If something happens with the defenseman, boom, Chase could be there. And
We
if the
don't root for
Panthers are
injuries, but Chase.
No.
Yeah, we want Chase to get in there.
I don't know if the Panthers are still your pick, even though they're down 3-2.
I guess Asman, let's go to you first while Maxie looks up his text from Bieber.
Absolute homer pick, but we're going Islanders, baby. They're gonna
Yeah.
close out the Penguins tonight. And when you're listening to this, they're gonna win that series in 6, and then they're gonna surprise a lot of people when they take down the big bad Bruins and ride Ilya Sorokin all the way to the cup. So watch
He's
out.
unreal.
Watch out for the Islanders, and it would actually be crazy if they got there. They have the hot goalie. They're obviously as well coached as any team in the league. They got to the conference finals a year ago, so it's not crazy. But I will go Islanders because why not? And then I'm with you as far as Vegas, Johnny. I mean, I watched their game the other night. They are nasty, man. I mean, and they've been knocking on that door for a while. Obviously, eventually, you see it. Teams knock on that door long enough. Eventually, the door breaks. So I think it's Vegas and the Islanders, and I'm not going to pick against the Islanders. Let's go Islanders in 7. Let's have some fun.
I like it. I look forward to the live reactions.
Jake, I'm real happy for you, by the way, that with the Islanders, not even just for this year, but for an organization as a whole. Like you're looking real prime for the future.
You get it, like when you root for a team that's like just been bad for most of your life, and they finally have like the right general manager in Lou Lamoriello, and they bring in Barry Trotz to be the coach, and like you've seen like real progress now. This is the 3rd season of this regime, and they're a legit contender. Like that's all you could hope for as a fan. That like you have the right people in charge. They give your team a chance every year.
Yeah, I'm saying just play at Nassau for the next 50 years. Don't even build another stadium. But
the new arena is nice, though. I will say, as much as I love the barn, and it's like my favorite place in the world to watch a game, not to actually do anything else. Because once you get up, I mean, goodness, it's there's no room in that place. The bathroom lines, go on forever, as we all know. But
you love it.
yeah, like if there's something about like the Nassau Coliseum being like Long Island's dump, like that makes it so special, and it's there's a lot of history there, and as far as watching a hockey game, you're right on the ice. It's an incredible experience.
Couldn't have said it better. It's a historic piece of shit.
It's like Shea Stadium, it's our dump, it's what you love.
That's a good.
Exactly.
You should make a shirt. The
historic piece of shit. Let's hear it, Maxie.
So I got Colorado coming out of the West, Tampa out of the East, Colorado winning it all. McKinnon's just the best player in the playoffs. Grubauer's beast between the pipes.
He's reading the text.
All the way through. Yeah. Tampa will make it even, though. What? All right. The next thing just didn't make sense.
That's a great pick, though. That's a great pick, though. I love that. I love the Colorado Tampa pick.
Great pick. Take the 2 favorites out of both conferences.
And then it's my sources. I can't give up my sources.
You're good. Well, let's go to NBA.
According to my many sources.
Yeah,
let's go to NBA.
Let's do a snake. So Max, start us off with NBA.
NBA. I'm gonna have the Nets coming out of the East. Out of the West, dude, the West is gonna be really interesting. I'm gonna go Suns. I like them. That's more of like a picking from your heart than with your head. Mm-hmm. I would like to see Chris Paul make it to a finals. So I'm going to do Suns, Nets, finals, Nets in 5.
I like that.
Nets in 5. I like it. I'm going to go Bucks out of the East. I don't want to pick the Nets. Everyone's going to do that. So let's do something different. Yeah, I could argue the Sixers, but I like what I've seen from the Bucks so far through 2 games. A lot of people look at them and they're like, it's the same team until Giannis proves it in the playoffs. We can't pick them. They're a different team, man. They added PJ Tucker, who's a really good 3-and-D player for them. They obviously brought in Drew Holiday before the year. Really good 2-way player. Middleton might be the most underrated player in the league. That's a star. So you have him. Giannis is eventually, just like we're saying, knocking on that door. All these superstars kind of go through it. They come into the league. Everyone loves them. They have this ascend. They win the MVP. And then when they don't win in the playoffs right away, you start questioning if they can win. Eventually, those guys get it done. Giannis is too good. So give me Milwaukee out of the East. And I'm still riding LeBron and the Lakers until they get beat. So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if the Suns win that series. In fact, when this comes out Wednesday morning, the Lakers could be down 0-2. Who knows? But give me Lakers Bucks in the finals.
The comparison that I make with the Bucks is with the Yankees. They've been knocking at the door for a while. They're bound to just bust the door open and win one, maybe 2.
Just
bust right through.
Just bust right through.
Right up there. Shove it up there.
What's that, 22 Jump Street?
Yeah.
I guess I'll do mine. I agree with the East. I think the Bucks I mean, you guys made all the arguments. I'm just gonna like literally reiterate what you said, so I'm not even gonna bother. But
Thank you.
Bucks, yeah, you guys said it perfectly. And in the West, Maxie, I do love the Suns. I don't agree with either of you on this. I don't agree with the Suns. I don't agree with LeBron. I think it's Kawhi and PG, dude. PG's got a revenge tour, man. He's got to do it. And I know they lost to the Mavericks, whatever. I actually made a drunk bet with my friend Blake Robbins at a bar on Saturday, like $50 that the Clippers spoke to the Mavericks, and I ended up betting him. But yeah, I think dude, Kawhi, you can't like just like betting against LeBron. Kawhi doesn't get enough respect. Why would you bet against Kawhi? Like Kawhi's done almost as much as LeBron has as far as winning championships. So why not give him the respect that LeBron gets? I mean, I know he's not the GOAT, but he's still a proven winner. So I'm going with the Clippers, going with the Bucks, and I think the Clippers win in 7 games.
People don't trust the Clippers. That's why. They blew a 3-1 lead in the second round last year. They've never in their history of their franchise, get this, been to the conference finals. So it's kind of like you got to see it to believe it. With the Bucks, you could say that even more with the Clippers. Now, you're right. They do have Kawhi. Kawhi's won before, but Paul George has never won. We've never seen, a lot of that team actually win. So that's why there's question marks.
Well, I think about the Tampa Bay Lightning getting swept and then winning the Stanley Cup. It's just you learn from it. You learn from losing. You got to lose in order to win.
You blew it.
Exactly. Cap, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to be quick, boys, before we get into a little Oy Vey action. I'm going to take the Philadelphia 76ers in the East. I think they're very skilled. I'm trusting the process this year. I love Joel Embiid, MVP, in my opinion. And what do you say? I'm confused. What's going on?
I was just laughing.
Trusting
at
the
your
process
analysis.
this year.
They're very skilled. I just laughing.
No, I like that. I'm trusting the process this year.
And
And
then,
like the last 8 years.
Yeah, right. And then in the Western Conference, I am going with the Memphis Grizzlies. I love Luka Doncic. I think he is an.
Well, he's on the Mavericks.
Oh, sorry. Not Luka Doncic. I love Ja Morant. Think he is extremely skilled, and I'm just gonna take it like a crazy pick because all you
No,
guys,
I like that. I like that.
like they except for the Phoenix Suns, I feel like you guys are all taking little front runners, but I'm gonna change it up.
I like that.
Oh, sorry, and I got Memphis winning in the finals against Sixers in 6.
Gonna look like a genius if it happens. Before the Oy Vey, though, I do want to give a shout out to this kid I met, Justin from Port Washington, at the Tam O'Shanter Golf Course. He literally drove by me on like a cart or walked by me and goes, "Hey man, I recognize you. I love your podcast." I was like, "Yo, what? Like, can I talk to you?" Like, walked up to him, introduced myself. Like, said he actually knows Deeber and Gottfried. So shout out to those two guys also. But very nice kid, Justin. So shout out to him, and that made my day. So thanks for doing that.
Did you sign an autograph?
I did not. I washed his golf balls. Like, what is it? Fever pitch. When Jimmy Fallon's washing the dad's balls.
What's his last name?
Massey, maybe? Justin Mazzy? Mazzy?
It's a Fugazi. It's a Fugazi.
It's a woozy Tawazi. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's sick though. I love when things like that happen.
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, let's get into a little Oy Vey. I will start. Actually, you know what? Let's let Jake start, our guest of honor for the day, for hopefully the future.
Oh, Oy Vey, baby. We're doing it. We're here. It's happening. Oy Vey. Did you guys see what Bill de Blasio said today about Trae Young? That to me is just the ultimate Oy Vey. Like, stop it. Just stop what you're doing. You're the same guy that wore, a ridiculous Nets hat and like Harden jersey last week, whatever jersey he was wearing. When politicians pretend like they give a you-know-what about sports, it's always cringeworthy. It's awful. And like the only thing New Yorkers can honestly all agree on nowadays is the disdain they have for Mayor Bill de Blasio, who I actually sat next to at a Met game, and he was actually a pretty nice guy. But my God, enough of the fake pandering to New Yorkers with the teams. We get it. You're all aboard. Just like Andrew Yang, who's running for mayor, said he broke up with the Knicks and he's now a Nets fan. And then he tries to hop on the Knicks bandwagon. And, you don't get to enjoy this run after real Knicks fans have suffered for years and haven't seen the team be any good. Oy vey, local politicians pretending they care about the New York sports teams.
You also can't say that and read it from a piece of paper.
Yep.
He made that statement and he's just like looking down, making sure he said everything right. No, you either know it or you don't.
He was a terrible actor. Bill de Blasio could not play dead in a B- Western. I mean, that's how fraudulent he is.
I don't get the reference, but I agree that was a ridiculous video.
Have you ever seen a Western film?
I have not.
Well, a lot of times people die in Western films. They get shot at, an old-fashioned shootout, and they got to play dead.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't be able to play dead in a B Western film.
My playing dead is the role models at the lair when they go,
Yep,
whatever that is. Yeah.
I love that. My OIV guy is a little off topic from sports, but obviously I've been traveling a shit ton with hockey throughout my life, and I've realized that especially on these Southwest flights where you get to pick your own seat, like it's like, man, when flights are full, like who would you rather sit like next to you? It doesn't matter if you got an aisle or a window or a middle. Would you rather sit somebody who's a little big boned, a little thicker than others, or would you rather sit next to somebody who smells like absolute BO?
Well, with the mask on, I guess it doesn't really, the smell
No,
doesn't
no, no.
matter.
You can smell through the mask. Don't even
Uh,
start there.
This is easy.
Yeah, give it
what are
to
you
me.
picking?
Big bone. If
Yeah,
someone
me too.
smells, your entire flight is ruined. If someone's big boned, at least you could like adjust and maybe not like touch them as much with your own body. If they smell, I mean, I don't know. I have a very weak stomach. If I had to sit on a flight for multiple hours with someone that stunk, I'm gonna vomit myself, and nobody wants that. So it would have to be the big boned.
I was on a 7 a.m. flight once, and the guy next to me threw up in his hands. It was the worst flight of my life.
It's
From
also a
LaGuardia to
lot.
Detroit.
It's also a lot harder to go to sleep if someone smells really bad.
Yeah. I completely agree with the smell. I'm the smell too, but I sat next to somebody who was just. I'm not gonna be. I mean, fuck it. But he was absolutely huge.
I'll go into mine. My OIV, I'm wearing the hat right now. I think it says Lucy Z's, right? Is that what it says?
Judy Z.
Judy Z. Judy Z's. I went to a bar with some friends from high school on Saturday. I looked
Thanks
to
for
my
the
left.
invite.
Yeah, you're not even home. I guess you are a high school friend, but you're not in my high school friend group.
Oh,
makes
good
sense.
to see where things stand.
Am I in your high school friend group?
Yes, I consider you like a brother.
Well, I feel bad for you then. But I walked into this bar, Judy Z's in the West Village, and I looked to my left, and I'm like, yo, these two guys like look so fucking familiar. I know who they are, blah blah. And I walk up to them. It's Quinn and Jack Hughes, and they're with Cappy. I dropped your name. They're with Josh Norris.
Oh no way! Played with his brother Cole at Ferris.
Yeah. I said that. They probably thought like, oh, cool, man. Good for you. I was like, yeah, I'll pull up my hockey elite prospects and show you who I am. But yeah, no, I just had a great day with them. I spent like $400. I bought them like a bucket of 20 White Claws. Like I was just trying to like, be a hot shot, whatever, and just talk to Quinn and Jack. Like,
How many times did you whip out the ECH hockey podcast?
Just once, because Jack didn't play college. But so the bar, like, I was there with them. My high school friends left, and I stayed with them. I was there with them for like 4 hours. And by the end of the night, girls were like coming up to me, like, "What NHL team are you on?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm on the Devils with Jack." Like just walking around. So that was really funny. But they like ended up giving us these hats because like I was like, "These guys are in the show. Like, give them some free shots." And they're like, "Oh my god, the NHL!" So. I did a little networking, if you want to call it, at Judy Z's, and got the boys some shots, and it was a good day. And I am the biggest Jack Hughes fan now, biggest Quinn Hughes fan. Those guys are awesome. And off the record, you guys will find this hilarious. Jack comes up to my friend Henry was like so fucked up, like trying to get a picture with Jack the whole day. Jack comes up to us like after he escapes. Henry goes, "Yo, your boy's a huge bag." About Henry is so funny. That's not gonna be in the podcast, but.
Let me here, I'll interrupt you because
I would say overall great day with the Hughes boys, with Josh Norris and Will Lockwood. Just gotta love hockey, guys. Cap.
I do want to say I beat both Jack and Quinn in college. We played against Jack. He played with the USA in the exhibition game. Shut him out. Love to see that from my end. Just a great performance. And then also beat Quinn at Michigan in overtime at Sold Out Arena. They were honoring Marty Turco that night. Sick. Not a big deal.
Humble brag.
Court was in the stands.
That is sick.
Court was in the stands that game. They were chanting "We love Courtney" the whole game. Great memory, but beat both of them.
We do love Courtney.
I'm sure they're great.
I love Courtney.
Max, what do you got for Oive though?
So I actually had a few, but we already spoke a bunch about the Knicks. So one thing that I do more as a hobby is I collect sports cards, trading cards, and sell them on eBay. So me and a fellow guest of the show, Simon, got these Topps exclusive Trevor Lawrence boxes that have been selling pretty hot on the market. They just came in today, and we ripped them, and we had a massive pull. Trevor Lawrence auto directly on the card, numbered 1 out of 99, but it's literally number 1, so it's worth a little bit more. So I was pretty stoked about it. It kind of went nuts. So that's my Oive.
That's crazy. How much do you think it's worth?
Right now, we saw it on the market for bidding. We saw it going for like 750, but there's still like 3 days left. So
Yeah,
it
but you
could
hold
probably
on to
going
that
for a
shit.
few. Probably go for like a little bit over $1,000.
Yeah. That's sick though. And then so what? You hold on to that baby for at least a good 3-4 years.
Yeah, we're actually gonna get it graded, because if you get it graded, it's a PSA 10 or PSA 9.5. You could sell for more. So that's what we're hoping for. Maybe we'll make some dough.
Good shit, man. Good shit with Simon.
Yeah,
Wait,
Simon.
what's it? Pirate Simon, correct?
Yeah.
Pirate
King.
Simon.
Beauty.
Shout out Pirate Simon. Hey guys, obviously we've talked about the NBA playoffs. Big time for sports right now. NBA, NHL. There's no better place to bet than Underdog Fantasy right now, guys. For Best Ball Mania 2, coming off a huge rookie season, the expectations for Underdog Fantasy sophomore season are sky high. They're answering the call with the biggest best ball tournament ever. Best Ball Mania 2 has $3.5 million prize pool with $1,001 to first place, the biggest prize ever awarded in a best ball tournament. No waivers, no trades, no setting lineups, just drafting. Get over to underdogfantasy.com or download the app in the App Store or Play Store and take your shot at 1 million. Be sure to use our code LATKE when you sign up. That's LATKE LATKE when you sign up.
Before we send it over to Evan, well, first I want to thank Asman for giving me his contact to reach out, and secondly, I want to thank Evan, obviously for coming on, but also for giving a shout out on the show. They actually just started their SNY simulcast this past Monday, and we sent him a gift as a podcast. He's a big Abraham Lincoln fan, so I sent him an Abraham Lincoln bobblehead. He gave me a shout out on the podcast. Honestly, milestone moment for me. So that was like an awesome moment. So thank you. Really appreciate the shout out, and let's get into it.
Right up and greet the Mets.
Hope you guys
Bring
enjoy.
your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York Town.
There are winners and there are losers. And here at the Locker Room, we only like to talk to winners. This guy grew up in Cedarhurst, Long Island, and was never bar mitzvahed. He had the longest running midday show in WFAN history, and now co-hosts WFAN's afternoon drive show, Carton Roberts. Welcome to the Locker Room podcast, Evan Roberts. Evan,
Good to be here, fellas. How are you?
we're doing great. It's
There's a lot.
afternoon. It's beautiful outside.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
I got to be honest, Evan, you're our 73rd guest, I think, maybe a little more, but I don't think there's been enough or as much hype as there is for this episode. So I hope you were honored.
73rd. Can you name all 72 before I came around?
Well, we got Howie.
Come on. Howie's number one right there. That blows me away. Who we kidding?
No, but I mean, you're big time. I'm glad that Jake Asman was able to connect us and finally get you on. So let's just dive right into it. With how you grew up and you were in the whole media space and had a show at a very early age, it must have been very hard gaining credibility as a 20-year-old. Now, obviously, you're Evan Roberts. You have a lot of credibility. But with the demographic that WFAN has, with 50-year-old listeners, of people that think they know everything about sports, how tough was it early on for you to gain credibility?
Just got to do it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course, if someone doesn't know who you are, or they say you're 22, you don't know anything, you just got to grind and you got to do it. You got to show people what you know and have people respect you. And that's not going to happen overnight. You know, there's no doubt about that. It certainly didn't happen for me overnight. You just got to do it. And hopefully you gain people's respect. I think that's any walk of life, not just radio. But yeah, I mean, when you're on WFAN, a station I grew up listening to, especially early on, everybody who listens and called in is older. So there's a party that's got to go prove yourself. And that's fine. I mean, that's what we all have to do at some stage of our career. So hopefully I've done that. I mean, it's been a while. I think it's been 17 years I've been on WFAN. My first show was in 2004. So it's been a while, but it's like any walk of life. No matter what job it is, you got to go out and you got to prove yourself. And I just grinded the best I could. That's all you can do.
Sports talk radio hosts hate Twitter. Oh.
I love
Am I delayed?
No, I heard you. I love Twitter.
Why was it?
What makes you say that? Why do you think talk show hosts hate Twitter?
Well, because now every asshole who has Twitter has a voice, and if you say something you mess up on a live show, like anyone can kind of just call you out on it. Whereas like when you started in 2004, you say something wrong, you're not going to hear anything for it.
I love it. I love it. I think that's great because it's called accountability. And I'm not perfect. There are times I screw up, and I'd rather be held accountable than say something that's not true and have no one have the ability to call BS on it. So look, I'm not speaking for every talk show host, obviously. I can only speak for myself, but I love it. I think Twitter as a tool to not only interact with listeners, but to get information. It's awesome. I think it's been a great help for sports talk radio. So in my opinion, again, just me, I love it. And I mean, I don't love being wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I want to be corrected, but I'd rather be corrected than just say something that's not true and go with it for 3 hours, you know?
Yeah, no, I just feel like it would never shut off for you. Like you take callers every day, and then when you're off air, you probably get tweets all the time. So you're a 24/7 man.
It's interesting. So I'd say early on in Twitter, I would be addicted to it. And I'd like, as you said, continue to do talk shows while arguing with people on Twitter. And I forget when, but there was a moment where I said, you got to stop. You got to just use Twitter because it's great, but have boundaries. So some people get mad at me. They say, oh, you don't interact as much as you used to. And it's true, not because I'm a jerk, but because it's addictive. If you just keep interacting like you'll have no life. You'll just do it constantly. So I've actually tried to cut back over the years because it can become something that you basically do a 24-hour radio show.
Yeah, I mean, one of the greatest lines you have is I'd rather be wrong and happy than right and upset. And that speaks true on like a lot of things, like the iconic James Harden take. When he was traded. I think a lot of people looking at it thought it was an awful trade, and then you dribble, fat. I mean, I love that, and you own it. No ego.
Listen, man, when you're on the air during a live event, during either a sporting event or in this case, a trade, you got to be natural with what your opinion is. You don't have time to let me think about this. It's naturally how you feel. And that's how I felt. So I have no apologies for it. Obviously, I'm a diehard fan, so I want to be wrong. There are many times I want to be wrong. That's not going to stop you from truly expressing how you feel, because the one thing I always want people, they don't have to like me, but the one thing I always want people to take from me is that I'm genuine. It's genuinely how I feel. Right or wrong, stupid or right, it doesn't matter. It's genuine. And yeah, when that trade went down, my genuine reaction was to freak out about what they gave up, which I did, was to, not be happy that they did what they did. But it's funny, 2 days later, I rationalized it and I felt better. But in the moment, well, what would anyone do in the moment if you find out about a trade you don't like? I mean, it is what it is. Like, I've always admitted this because I wasn't on the air. When they traded for Jason Kidd, I didn't like the trade. I own it. I'm glad I was wrong. Jason Kidd was one of the great New Jersey Nets of all time. It is what it is. Most of us are going to have natural opinions about a trade. And you just hope it works out for your team more than you being right about it.
Yeah. Well,
why are you a Nets fan?
You asked that in such a way of why? Like, why the Nets?
Yeah, well, because we're a Knicks podcast for sure. And then, we always hear people making fun of all the Nets. You just like the Nets now because they were good, but now the Knicks are good. And you see some people who rooted for the Nets kind of switch back. It's good that you're a loyal man, though.
Thank you. I think the answer is, so when I was young, my dad was a Long Island, New York Nets fan. Obviously, before I was born, he had season tickets to see Julia. The phrase that he used to tell me is they had a marketing campaign, come see Dr. J in the NBA. Well, spoiler alert, Dr. J never played in the NBA for the Nets because they sold him to Philadelphia. And that obviously turned my dad off, but he was a New York, Long Island Nets fan. So I had that. And I knew growing up on Long Island, the Nets had a history there. And I grew up in the mid-90s, early 90s, and the Knicks were very good, and they just weren't likable to me. Like, I didn't like Patrick Ewing. I didn't like Charles Oakley. I didn't like them. Mm-hmm. And my dad said, let's go see basketball games. And we couldn't get tickets to the Garden, so he would take me to the Swamp, and we see this kind of young, hungry team that didn't get as much attention, that wasn't as good, and they fit with the other teams I root for. And they just did. They were like the Jets. They were like the Mets. And so I think when you combine all those things together, the ability to see them live, the Knicks not being likable, and the Long Island history that I was taught about, it just was a natural team to root for. And they felt like a Long Island team, even though they were in Jersey, because I knew about their history. I knew about their ABA success. And as a Long Island guy, it fit. And so I was in love ever since. And yes, I know that there aren't many of us, but I think a lot of us take pride in that. So when Knicks fans say no one cares, that doesn't bother us. Like, we don't give a crap that nobody cares. It's like this secret cult almost, this underground club of people that root for the Nets, especially those that go back to the days of New Jersey. There's a great respect when you meet someone who looks at you and says, Drazen Petrovic, Kenny Anderson, or the 98 team, Sam Cassell, and obviously the Jason Kidd era. There's a bond that we have, as small as we may be.
Kerry Kittles.
Loved Kerry Kittles.
And Chris
I'll never forget him getting hurt that night when he tore his ACL. That ruined his entire career. I thought he had the makings of being an all-star.
Worst style in NBA history, Keith Van Horn.
He had the biggest three in that.
I'm sorry,
history.
I'm so delayed.
I'm
so delayed.
Win the Eastern Conference, all right?
Evan, I want to transition a little bit into the WFAN and kind of like you and Joe. You guys had the longest running midday show in WFAN history. And I wanted to show you one thing. I have a 1-of-1 bobblehead of you and Joe.
How is that even created?
So my brother, he was able to paint. He took this head off and put someone that looked kind of like you on it, and then painted over it. So I wanted to make
that is really special, I must say, very special.
So I wanted to show you that, and I wanted to basically say, you and Joe, and WFAN, there's a lot of turnover, like more turnover than the Jets quarterback situation. So after having that longest midday show in WFAN history, what was that transition like from Joe to Carton, and the big difference in personalities between them?
They couldn't be any more different. I mean, that's the funny part. The transition was easy because Joe became a friend. He wasn't just a guy I did a show with. So I love him, right? I love him as a longtime friend, and he was so excited to not do a show anymore. He was excited to retire, and he was excited to golf, and so there was a part of me that was just very happy for him. I kind of knew that day was going to come. You do a show with a guy for a long enough time, and I always used to joke, "You're going to work till you're 80. We're going to keep you around." But I also knew he didn't want to do that. So when he was transitioning out, there was a part of me that was excited for him. I kind of worried, like, oh my God, but it's going to be so weird doing a show without him. It's going to be so different no matter who my next partner is. But I was very happy for him. Doing a show with Craig has been a completely different show, but a lot of fun. I think when you do the same thing for 14 years, there's a part of you that says, wouldn't it be cool if you did something different? And so the show we do is completely different. And the transition's been great. I mean, obviously I knew Craig for a while because he was doing mornings. At first you do a show together and you're kind of feeling it out, and it's different, and, you kind of get used to each other, but I've had a great time. I think it's been 6 months now, and I've had a really enjoyable time. I never knew what it was going to be like doing a show post Joe, but different experience, fun experience. We've had success. So far, all good right now.
That's also what I'm curious about too. I know I touched on Twitter a little bit, but as a sports talk radio host, podcasts are now super popular. Is that like kind of a competition? I know you do both, but do you think that podcasts have kind of taken away from the sports talk radio a little bit?
I think everything's competition. You know what I mean? Like, I think anything that you do that's not listening to the radio is competition. I think going outside and not putting your radio on is competition, right? You want people to listen to you. I think that, sure, in a way, podcasts are, but I think what's special about talk radio, I think there's always going to be a strong niche for sports talk radio, is it's live, it's intimate. You feel, I know this as a listener, because I've listened to Howard Stern for many years. I listened to The Fan growing up. and you feel like this comfort of knowing somebody and turning the radio on and they're talking to you live. You could pick up the phone and you could talk to them. So I think podcasts are great. I like doing it. I think they've become incredibly popular. I listen to a ton of podcasts. I mean, I'm a big fan of a lot of different kind of stuff, but I think that live sports talk radio, especially local, there is something about it that's special, but I think everything's competition when you really think about it. Anything that you're doing that's not listening to the radio is technically competition.
It's nice to know that you're threatened by us. But no, I completely agree. Like I'm a diehard Ranger fan, and when all the drama happened last week with the Rangers and everything, it was nice to tune in to the live sports talk radio to listen to everything going on as it's happening. Whereas opposed to a podcast, they got to record, they got to edit, and then put it out probably the next day. So I do appreciate sports talk radio for that aspect, 100%.
Yeah, I think podcasts are really cool because you can get so specific on things. That's what I love. Like for example, the Knicks are about to play the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs. I listened to a Hawk podcast the other day. Not kidding. It's just more curiosity, hear what they're talking about. And so I think that's it's a small example, but it's an example of how podcasts can be so cool, where it can be so niche and so specific. And you'll always find people that say, I want to listen to this. I want to listen to an Atlanta Hawks podcast. I mean, take me the other day. Never thought I would ever listen to a Hawks podcast, but I was intrigued by it, downloaded one and listened just to kind of hear their mindset.
What were they saying? Do they think they have a chance in the series? I think Knicks in 6.
They seemed as if this is the opponent that they wanted, much like Knicks fans have been saying this is the opponent that they wanted. And by the way, it makes complete sense. Why would you want to play Miami? Why would you want to play Milwaukee? Why would you want to play the Nets? You don't. So I get why you guys, these two fan bases, are kind of like dancing around each other, but they wanted you, you wanted them. I think it's going to be an outstanding series that's going to come down to the officials and how generous they are to Trae Young.
No, I completely agree. And it's two franchises that are kind of historic, but have also been like a little bit irrelevant in the last couple of years. So I think it's kind of fun that they're going at each other. I think as a Knicks fan, it's like the perfect scenario you could ask for a first round match.
Yeah, and you got home court, which you got to love. They haven't had that in 8 years.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. And hopefully the Garden can pack it a little bit.
Amen.
Evan, we do got a question from a listener, someone you may know, Jake Asman, who's a dear friend of ours. He wants to know, what are your thoughts about Jake Asman getting called Evan Roberts growing up, because he also started doing radio at a young age and because he has red hair? I guess you're the leader of the redhead radio movement. So how does it feel to be known as the guy on the throne for the redheads doing radio?
I feel terrible for him. I mean, that's my only answer. Like, I feel awful that you were subjugated to that. So my apologies. I hope it didn't scar you or him for life. And look, us redheads are special. It's why we root for Clint Frazier. It's why Clint Frazier needs to get his bat going, because whether you're a Met fan or a Yankee fan or a Cardinal fan, redhead success is American success.
Presidential speech.
I don't know if South Park would agree with that.
No,
yeah. You seen South Park though?
Oh, I have.
South Park with
I'm still
with the red cows.
I'm still convinced that they're the ones that made the term ginger popular. Like, I never heard that as a kid growing up until that episode where Cartman was calling all the redheads ginger. So I don't know. That's the first I ever heard of it.
I do tend to agree. I mean, you definitely have a couple years on me, but that was probably the first time that I heard it also. When they dyed the cow, make him a redhead 100%. Or whatever. That was so fucking funny.
Very
so
funny,
fucking funny. And then they make Cartman a redhead and prank him. Oh my god, I love that show. I think we talk about South Park all the time. But,
it's a great show.
Speaking of Jake Asman, speaking of redheads, I do feel like Islander fans are all redheads. Ranger fans, no redheads in the crowd. But Islander playoff expectations, big game 1 win. Do you think this team can make a run like they did last year?
Yeah, and that's the expectation, by the way. I mean, they had an incredible run last year. And the only thing that sucked about it is that we all couldn't experience it, that we couldn't be there. Because I remember when we swept the Penguins back in 2019, the Coliseum moved. It rocked. It was electric. And obviously things didn't go well in the Carolina series. But this team's fan base deserves to enjoy the run. So the one thing that kind of sucked about last year's run, where they did lose to a better team, even though they could have won that series, was we didn't get to be a part of it. Yeah. The regular season doesn't matter. And I think game 1 proved that. You throw it out the window. What a job by Sorokin stepping in. First playoff star playing as well as he did. That save on Sidney Crosby was fantastic. And I think that winning game 1 eliminates any ill feelings towards what happened during the regular season. So the bar is high. I mean, it's very similar to the Nets. The bar is they got to get to a Stanley Cup final, because when you get to the Eastern Conference Finals and you lose, there's only one place to go. So the bar is high, the expectations are high, and I'm damn excited for when they get back to Nassau Coliseum to have that place just rocking on Thursday night.
Well, you say the expectations are high for Islander fans, but not around the league. Everyone kind of feels that Pittsburgh's going to win this series. I mean, on paper, they're the more talented team, but the Islanders have shown in years past, like the batting shot system just works.
When have the Islanders been respected? They haven't.
Never.
They weren't respected last year. They weren't respected the year before that. So that's to be expected. And quite frankly, no one gives a crap about it. I mean, they can doubt them as much as they want. That's fine. The expectations of Vegas and the expectations of the NHL, they can have whatever they want. I think as a fan base, the expectations are incredibly high. If they lost in the first round, it'd be a massive disappointment. So quite frankly, I don't give a rat's ass what the experts say about the New York Islanders. They don't like the Islanders. They've been given no respect the last few years, and it is what it is.
I completely agree. I do want to steer away from hockey for a second, though, and go into the year 2015 when Joe drooled over Caitlyn Jenner's Vanity Fair cover. Is that the funniest? Is that the funniest moment in the show's history, or is there a better moment you can think of? I mean, that clip is actually like you watch it 5 times and you're dying laughing every time.
I mean, it's tough to match that. And I did not see that one coming, that's for sure. But yeah, I think that's one of the top 3 most mentioned, moments on our show is that. So as far as pure humor is concerned, yeah, it's probably number 1. I have to admit. I don't know if Joe agrees, but it's definitely in the top 2 or 3.
The funniest thing was just how confident he sounded in it too, like thinking that it was one of the daughters.
Yeah. And then the reaction
that was the best part.
It's not.
All right, Evan, something we do to wrap up.
Have the turntables.
Something we do to wrap up the interview is we do this thing. It's called the Matzo Ball Minute Questions, where we ask you a few quick hitters where we kind of just talk a little bit and elaborate depending on like the answers for it. So we got 3 questions for you. So do you know Beat the Booth with SNY and like with Howie and Gary Cohen?
Yes.
So we know you and Craig couldn't, but could you and Joe beat them?
Yes. I think we could. Joe's got the 60s and 70s and 80s on lock. Like his memory is, I think I know a lot about stuff before my time, but not to the extent, obviously, of Joe. And then I feel pretty good about the 90s and the 2000s. So I think our diversity and knowledge would give us an excellent chance. Yes.
I love it. I mean, I'm so pumped about this whole year with the Mets. So there's going to be a lot.
Me too. I just need them to be healthy.
Exactly.
Because right now they're a freaking mash unit.
Pilar taking one to the last night.
Oh my God.
Hockey guy.
He's tough. That's what you love about him. He'll be back in the
guy.
lineup in a day or 2.
Yeah, that was
That's
nuts.
what you love about a guy like that.
No. I just love how we just got up, went right to first base, and
Yes.
took him out.
I want to see a picture of his face.
Oh my God. You could see it as soon as the ball hit him, like the blood starting to come out. That would end careers. Like for all of us, if we're stepping in a batter's box, we got hit one time, I'd be done. I play baseball every Sunday. I take one of the noggin, I'm done. I'd retire on the spot.
Wait, you have a softball league in the city,
Let alone
right?
the noggin. I would retire on the leg.
Baseball, not so. We
Baseball.
played
Okay.
actual. In fact, you know what's funny? My first at bat 2 weeks ago, because we didn't play last year with the pandemic. First at bat, I got hit on the elbow, and I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And it stung. I mean, I don't think I have a black and blue, so it wasn't too bad. Plus, we're not throwing 90, we're throwing like 50 or 60, but it sucks. Nobody wants to get hit by a pitch. I understand why guys get injured when they get hit. It doesn't matter if it's on purpose. You don't want to get hit. It's not enjoyable.
No, I agree. I pitch in our soft pitch softball league, and I get line drives to the face, and it
Every game.
Not fun.
Every game.
not fun.
We told him to start wearing catcher's gear up there.
So the next question I have for you is, which one had more juice at its peak, DeGrom Day or Harvey Day?
Disgusts me to give this answer. It's Harvey Day. And it's boggled my mind. It's boggled my mind for years. I've loved Jacob deGrom since his rookie season, and he has been disrespected since really the beginning. And Harvey got more hype than Jake. I think recently, especially after the 15 strikeout game, there's been more like, oh, Jake Day, we're excited. But I'm going to be honest with you, Harvey Day, and I can see it as a season ticket holder because sometimes I would sell my tickets and Harvey days were hot. DeGrom hasn't had that, even though Matt Harvey is not a patch on the fanny of Jacob deGrom. Nevertheless, whatever the reason, maybe it's because the team sucked. Got to remember, it's 2013. It was a different world. Matt Harvey is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that the Mets are going to win 96 to 100 games where everyone's like, you know what, we got to go to every single game once they open it up. And maybe that take will change with you by the end of the season.
I hope so, because I think Jake deserves it. I mean, he's on his way to the Hall of Fame. He's had dominant seasons. He's a joy to watch. So I wish he had that Matt Harvey, Doc Gooden start excitement, but for whatever reason, it really hasn't happened with most Met fans.
I have a question for you about DeGrom though. So he's not going to win 150 games. It's like he might not even win. No, he will win 100. But what does he need to do in order to pretty much solidify himself into the Hall of Fame?
I think if he won one more Cy Young, he'd already be in. He'd get the kind of that Koufax nod of he dominated, even if it's for a short period of time. I think a third Cy Young would do that. It's going to be tough this year because he's missed a couple of starts, but we'll see. I mean, if he overwhelmingly beats everybody and stays healthy the rest of the way, he could still win it. But I think 2 or 3 more dominant years and he's in. I really do. I don't think he's that far off. I don't think the wins matter. I think we live in a world now where that's just, it doesn't. It just, it sucks that he hasn't won a lot of games. It sucks the Mets don't give him run support. I don't think it matters. I think he's probably either a third Cy Young or 2 or 3 really good years away from locking it up that he's going to be in Cooperstown someday.
I love it. I mean, he fucking deserves it. Our last Matzo Ball Minute question for you is, if you could go back and change the outcome of one play in sports history, what would it be?
Oh, man.
Beltran.
It's coming down to a few things. It's Carlos Beltran is a thought. I also think the Familia quick pitch against the Royals is up there just because that changes the entire series. If he gets those 3 outs and they win game 1, same thing with Armando Benitez against Paul O'Neill in the Subway Series. I mean, believe it or not, I think I'd put all that above Beltran only because it's the NLCS. They win. He hits one up the alley. Yeah, they play the Tigers. They may win the World Series. They should win the World Series. It's a whole freaking World Series. I don't know. It was at home, though, so we were there. There's nothing that jumps out at me as in terms of one specific play you know what it is? I give you a jet one. Getting off the field on 3rd down against the Steelers and giving Sanchez one more chance with the football to go to the Super Bowl. That's up there. In fact, that may win. This is a very difficult question.
A difficult question for a long-suffering sports fan.
I know. There's so many options.
Yeah, there's so many options. Yeah.
I think the most painful I've ever experienced, and it's recent, was the 2015 World Series. I really thought deep down, this is it. And I love that team. So I think I'm going to say the Familia quick pitch, because I think if he doesn't do that and gets through that inning and we win game 1 of the World Series, I think the entire series looks different and maybe we're celebrating a championship. So that's the answer.
So my pick's Beltran, but now thinking about it, something came to mind. Game 5, 2015, Harvey, instead of letting up the triple, double play. Because I also think if Harvey gets out of that.
I don't know. Look, they go to Kansas City. I do know that. And Jake's on the mound. Let's keep that in mind. So it's up there because I think that winning that game, even though we were already down 3-1, extends the dream a little bit.
Right.
That 15 team is a tough one. In a lot of ways, that bothers me more than 2000. 2000 was about losing to the Yankees, but I didn't think that 2000 team was that good. I really didn't. I thought that 2015 team, especially with that pitching staff, was special. And that was the moment to capture that year.
Well, speaking of 2000, when Clemens threw the bat at Piazza, do you think Piazza should have charged the mound?
Yes, and I think he should have kicked his ass. Yes, that kills me too. That's another moment maybe I change because that changes the whole series too. Roger gets ejected, Mike gets ejected. Maybe the Mets win Game 2 of that World Series.
But
Yeah,
if there's a suspension after, that hurts the Mets. If they're just ejected from that game, that's advantage Mets 100%.
I get it, but you're eliminating Roger Clemens from that game. I can't imagine there would have been a harsh suspension for Mike. Plus, he'd have time to appeal it. And if he appeals it, they push it back, and he misses a freaking regular season game in 2001.
You're right. That's a great point. Well, that wraps up the Matzo Ball Minute. Evan, this has been awesome. Laz, do you have one last question, or are you going to do like one boomerang? And
No, I got one more question for you, Evan. And this is one of my favorite questions to ask. Everyone always has a different answer, but if you can go back and talk to the 15-year-old version of Evan Roberts, what kind of advice are you giving him?
All advice about women. It would be nothing about sports. It would be nothing about radio. It would all be about, listen, here's how you talk to a girl when you're 17 and 18 and 19. And this is how you take a girl out on a first date when you're 21, 22, 23. And this is what happens after you hook up at 24, 25. And it would basically just all be about women. That would be my entire advice. I would teach him all the things I had to learn for the next 13 years until I met my wife. So that would be the extent of the entire conversation.
So Jed is going to be
You know, it's funny.
He's right.
All right, Evan, we want to thank you so much for doing this. This was a blast.
No problem, fellas.
Laz,
I
you want to
appreciate
do
it.
the quick boomerang?
Yeah, we can do that real quick. Evan, you know what a boomerang is?
I mean, a boomerang is a thing that you shot and then it comes back at you or something.
Not in our generation.
Then I don't
It's
know.
just like for Instagram and Twitter, just like a quick like picture, I guess.
Oh, picture. Jeez, that's
If you want to just smile.
okay.
Right? 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you so much. This was a
I would
blast. We
have
really
never
appreciate it.
guessed that that's what a boomerang is, by the way. Like, you could have given me 55 guesses. I would have never guessed a picture on a Zoom.
Well, you can go back and tell 15-year-old Evan that we took his boomerang virginity.
Thank you. You know, that's part of the discussion. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
Evan, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Have a good one. You too.
Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue. So hurry up and come on down. 'Cause we got ourselves a ball club, the Mets of New York Town. Give 'em a yell! Give 'em a hand! And let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of